All right, hello everybody. Welcome back. It is Wireheads episode 12. That's right. We are now at episode 12, baby. You thought we were going to stop at 10? No. 11? No. 11.5? Is 11.5 out yet?
11.5 is.
11.5 is out. No, we are now at 12. My favorite number. My lucky number. 12. That's right. And today, I am kicking off today's episode with a question that I have been asked a few times. And Emmerron, I don't know if you get asked this question a lot either, but like recommended starting gear via roll. Don't know if you get that question too terribly often.
I mean, not terribly often, but I think it's a good question to answer.
So, I suppose to start off, just to clarify, there is a difference between a role and also a class. Like if we talk about like class-based, like D20 fantasy, like D&D or Pathfinder, usually you'll have like items that absolutely that's what this class should have with them, no matter what. In Cyberpunk, it's a very much more wishy-washy kind of bunching. Like the only one that really has like very defined things that you need to get, that you need to have this or you should have this, is Netrunner. And but that's because you have your mandatory cyberware tax, you have your Netrunner tax on cyberware you have to do.
Yeah, you spend a lot if you're a Netrunner. I'm trying to think, like, I feel like there are other roles too where there's like a little, not quite as severe as Netrunners, but like I think tech and med tech have it a little bit that way too, just because there are things like your tech tool, your med tech bag. Yeah.
And then the only other one I could really think of is, well, I guess also nomads with their tools as well, because you know they run a motor on like vehicle tech. Most everyone else, it is very fluid, like how you want to build out this character. But I suppose if we were to do this, I would look at this as if we were looking at the, you know, let's say you were playing the character as like it's normally imagined. And we're gonna go down the list here. So Rocker Boys. Yeah.
So before we go to that, one of the chatters in my side just asked if we could go back to and just define a little better the class versus role distinction. So to take that really quick, so in a typical like D20 fantasy style TTRPG, your class is very, in a lot of TTRPGs, your class is very definitive of like what you can do, right? Your capabilities are really, really like tightly defined, with a little bit of interpretation in there for things like subclasses or things like that. And some, you know, D20 systems like Dragonbane, it's like your starting point and then you branch out from there. But like when we talk about things like D&D, because let's be honest, most people are coming from Pathfinder or D&D. That's where we're going to be talking from. So the role by distinction from that is, yes, it's some tricks you have up your sleeve, but they're like the things that make you a little different from the other edge runners, and it's more about who you are than like what you can do. So like your role is going to have things like perks in it, like execs, for example, have parts of their lifestyle covered. You know, their housing specifically is covered for them. Later on, they get the ability to like get insurance covered automatically for them. So like that's what we talk about. Like roles are one part perks and one part niche skills that only you do. Like if you're a Netrunner, only Netrunners have access to interface abilities. No one else can do that. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about class versus role. But yeah, that's kind of where it sits. And if there are any further questions about that, we can go over them in the Q&A, but that's like a basic definition for all of you, just so that we're on the same page here.
You know, if you think about it in some weird, twisted way, someone that's real curious that has a Neuralink and interface plugs could plug into a cyber deck. They would just be in for one hell of a ride.
I would not want to be that person.
So in this case, we're gonna do like a very like if we look at the characters out of the box. So let's look at, of course, the first one, Rocker Boy. Rocker Boys are the street poets, the loud musicians, the angry protest composers.
Yeah.
And if I had to look at a Rocker Boy, at the end of the day, Rocker Boys can be combatants, but I don't feel that like they'll ever really outshine in the combat role compared to like lawmen, nomads, and I suppose execs that are spec'd specifically into combat.
Do we want to talk about the Trinity? Like this is not an official thing, by the way.
Like look at like how you sorted them out that one night.
Yeah, because I think this is it's a good model, I think, for thinking about the different roles in the game. So you've got three kind of core identities, I would argue, right? The creators of the game, RTG, may not agree with this, but based on how I've seen games played and the roles kind of embodied, there are three major kind of definitive things that roles do, right? So you've got your socializers. So this would be things like Rocker Boy, Media, and the Fixers, who are more about like, let's connect the city together. Let's manipulate people to get what we want. They're going to focus on high social skills, and their main thing is going to be to like talk and navigate their way through things through the power of influence more than it will be to like resort to guns, right? Mm-hmm. On the other side of that coin, you have the warriors. You have the people that are very combat oriented. These being things like the solo, especially, and the other two that I put in there because they really are like combat classes. If you think about it long enough, are the nomads and the lawmen, because they both are like very combat focused in the way that they can like nomad can upgrade their vehicles to like really focus on combat. And they leave a lot of points open to spec into guns. And the lawmen can just like call extra bodies on the battlefield. If that's not a combat class, I don't know what is. And then sitting in kind of the nebulous negative space between is the specialists. Mm-hmm. So specialists are similar only in that they all do really weird niche things. So this would be like your techs, your net runners, your execs, and then the last one, medtech. Thank you. So they all have a very specific purpose, and they aren't going to have a lot of like bleed over between each other typically. But these specialist roles are mostly there to do one thing really, really well, or do a couple of things that are kind of under the same umbrella really, really well. Such as the case with like medtech and tech, where their main thing is mostly going to be around like repairing gear or repairing people, or brewing up things that help the party one way or another, whether that be like pharmaceuticals or ammo or whatever. So that's the Trinity. So as we kind of go through things here, that might help explain things, because like Rocker Boy, for example, since we're starting there, they are socializers. So like a lot of the things you're going to want to set up on them are going to have things to do with that, probably, or assist it in some way.
So, of course, with a Rocker Boy, you are a performer, and you need to, be able to sway your fans. So, of course, in this case, and when I'm talking about like gear and with Rocker Boys, yes, you could be a vocalist, but there is gear for vocalists in Black Chrome even. But you're going to want, if you're like a performer, you're going to want your pocket amp. You're going to want your instrument. And of course, you're going to want some, very fashionable clothing to, get into those sweet venues, because there's no way you're walking into Club Atlantis with that bag-lady chic unless you are a high enough level Rocker Boy and that is your shtick. So, and you're all about making that first impression, just being flashy and getting people to do what you want. You got to win their hearts, Combat
But
wise,
Diamond,
usually what?
Diamond, Bag Lady Chic is all the rage on NCU campus right now.
Well, I mean, I guess go for it then. But combat wise, normally I see a lot of rocker boys carry either pistols. Sometimes if they're feeling real fucking feisty, shotguns. I've seen shotguns, such as with Ty Starlight, one of our rocker boys that we have. Other times, some of them use their instruments as a melee weapon.
Yes.
And
Grace Steele is an example because we've seen her grace the cover of the upcoming Forlorn Hope book wielding a literal axe guitar.
I hope we get like a lot more art on Grace, because I love that concept of just someone like that. I hope that's a very heavy melee weapon. I hope she's really good at melee weapons. Yeah,
it would make sense if it's very heavy considering it's two-handed. So like that would check out in my mind.
I can smash someone's skull in with that. When you're looking at rocker boys, your gear is going to be mainly around your fashion as well. So look into your fashion wear. Get a kill counter. I mean, if that's your sort of thing. Get some light tattoos, tech hair, chem skin to really make you have that certain glow about you. Oh gosh, what other great things are there for rocker boys? I mean, if you're a guitarist, there's the laser light electric guitar.
That thing's very cool. I mean, I think that like the biggest thing for a lot of the social roles, a lot of your gear isn't in the core rule book. Like the stuff that really helps you out in doing what you do best. I would argue, like, unless it's cyberware, some of that cyberware you want is in the core rule book. The vast majority, though, of what you actually want is going to be in things like Black Chrome or some of the DLCs, like Gearmiss or Cybermiss. Both have some like really interesting options. Like Media's get a stream cam that like boosts their credibility specifically, so it's like very good to get that like ASAP.
But yeah, with starting gear with rocker boys, especially if it's like you're really new to all this, light armor jack I recommend for everyone. Costs $100. Doesn't have an armor penalty, and
to 200 kinda, because you have to buy head and body. Separate, yeah. So it's
unless you're a goth that thinks that helmets aren't cool.
They aren't cool right up until one of them saves your life. Then it's very cool.
And I can understand. You don't go walking into a club with flak armor, because nobody wants. I'm definitely a rent a cop bootlicker walking into the club or some shit like that. Sort of like what you see in some of those cringe security videos of some of these overly tactical security guards. Let's see. Next up on the list is for rocker boys. Definitely like find also that style that your rocker boy wants. Like as soon as you can really get an identity of that rocker boy, find things that just fans will see it and it's just like, hey, that's a reference to my favorite performer. What are you doing with that? You can't use that. Fuck you.
Yeah, that is the kind of fun. I also like to point this out to new players. When you are building your armor jack in, consider that light armor jack can be woven into clothing.
Yep.
So you can walk into a club and have light armor jack look very inconspicuous. Or at the very least, it'll be looking socially acceptable. Where like it's tied into your laser light street jacket or something akin to that, like executive armor. There's also SP11. Mimic clothing kit. Like all of these things are really great ideas for you to just walk in and have styled armor, basically. And even if I think you were wearing just straight light armor jack for body armor, most clubs, at least the way I've run Cyberpunk, most clubs won't look at you weird if you're wearing light armor jack, because it's like you're hanging out on the streets of Night City, like combat breaks out regularly. That makes sense.
All right, but yeah, at the end of the day, for Rocker Boys, your core kit is going to be based around what you use to perform to get yourself out there. Hell, like even Black Chrome's got like this awesome boom amp that, you know, I won't get into details because it's in a paid expansion, but you can make people go deaf if you crank the music loud enough. All right. Next up is solos. What are your thoughts on solos, like for starting gear, Emmerron?
So the way I like to think about solos, that I think that people are really quick to look at solos in like a super reductive way. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't like, so you have to understand this about solos first and foremost, before we start going into gear. You can build a solo to use any kind of weapon proficiently. And like, what kind of weapon you want to be good at, or the kind of weapons, plural, you might want to be good at, will define the kind of solo you're making. Because I've played on teams where like our solo was very upfront, loud, kick the door and shoot the bad guy inside kind of approach to things. I have also seen solos where their approach was hang in the rafters and take sniper shots when the other guys aren't looking. Like Hyena, or there was another one named Locksport that played in one of my earliest campaigns, or one of the earliest campaigns I was a player in. And it being like a ghost solo is so cool. Like playing Splinter Cell as a solo, very cool. So I think the first thing you have to ask yourself when you're making a solo is, what kind of solo am I? Because that's really going to define for you like what kind of guns you want to have, what kind of weapons you want to have. And like it'll direct your budget, because weapons get very expensive, especially if you want anything big like shoulder arms or heavy weapons. Like that sort of stuff is gonna it's gonna burrow into your budget really, really fast. That said, there are a couple of like skills that obviously you can play around, these being like auto fire, heavy weapons, shoulder arms, handguns, melee weapons. That's going to pretty much cover every weapon type. And so how many of them you want to take at character creation is debatable. My advice usually is, if you're going to deal in assault rifles, that's kind of where you're going to break down like your auto fire and shoulder arms. If you're like, I just want to use like shotguns, well, then you don't need auto fire. Maybe instead you go into like heavy weapons and you carry like a gun Martin Gage on you.
Great weapon.
Terrific weapon. Highly recommend that one. For real though, it's actually not as bad as I think we make it out to be sometimes. Like gun Martin Gage is a great discount weapon. So like for your solos, you typically want to have one primary arm, like one kind of like shoulder arms, like an assault rifle or a shotgun. And you want a sidearm, I would argue, whether that's like a melee weapon or a handgun or something that you can use one-handed. That's very important, because, and this is the big thing, if you get shot and you lose a hand or your arm becomes disabled somehow, the one-handed gun is all you can use, or the one-handed blade or something is all you can use. Because two-handed weapons aren't usable once you're in a grapple. So if someone grapples you, your two-handed weapons are off. If you lose a hand, your two-handed weapons are off. If your arm breaks, your two-handed weapons are off. So you need to have something one-handed to back up.
Yep.
So that would be the first consideration. Beyond that, obviously, light armor jack, agent, you need those things pretty much all the time. Beyond that, though, that's where we start talking about like, who are you outside of your job? You know, like, or do you want to spend a little extra on like specialized ammo? Because like, sure, basic ammo is just an eddy a bullet, but like, you could splurge a little bit and invest in like armor piercing rounds, and you could start the game with some AP rounds, which could also be really fucking cool. You could also, if you've got the budget for it, drop into things like excellent quality weapons to give you like a +1. Cyberware is a little tenuous with it, but yeah, that's kind of my opinion is define the kind of solo you want to be, pick weapons appropriate for that, and then like see what you have left from that point and start like building it out from that point on, like for the extras you can get.
And not every solo is going to be, Street Samurai V or Militech Vet or, people that are, kick down the door or, long distance sniping. So some solos, like one I've played before, they run on high cool to where, they might as well get some fixer levels or some rocker boy levels in there as well. And sometimes you're just in it for the show. You want to look good while you're doing it. You're going in to go handle an assassination. Well, as long as you look the part and you play the part, nobody's gonna suspect a thing until you've passed all your stealth checks, and then boom, free headshot with the melee weapon.
Right. Yeah. And you can do all kinds of like, that's why I said like there's no one right way to play solo, but you are going to be focused some degree on like picking a couple of weapons and a play style, and like that's your primary play style. And the way you do that is going to really depend on like a lot of different factors and like your skill build and stuff. But since we're just talking about gear, that's why I wanted to give it in that more general sense.
Any tips on running melee in a gunfight? So for you solos that run melee, always have some form of one-handed weapon. So that way, like mentioned earlier, make sure that you have that so you can deal with losing a hand. But being in a gunfight as melee, getting up in melee, your guys' grouping is going to be a little bit different. Make sure you have good armor, but also make sure you invest into your melee weapon skill and mono blades. Mono blades for you guys is going to be a must at like late game, because after you shred the armor for a while, you'll be able to cut through. And I like what the mono katana and the mono wakizashi are like what $1,000 each. So it's not
yeah, I believe
terrible.
they're 1,000 a piece.
It's not terribly out of reach for anybody, but it's not going to be quite like the Mono 3 where, you ignore 11 or lower. So at the end of the day, like especially when you're starting out, if you see something you want, don't buy that immediately. Work your way up there. Unless you can afford to buy it immediately. But the better your skills are when you're working your way up there, the better. Just that way you can also save some eddies for your rent and lifestyle down the road as well. Armor, I think with solos, it's kind of up and down the row. Take your pick at what you want. Light armor jack is always good, but if you want to, I guess for the like, what argument could be made for the heavier armor jacks?
Well, heavier armor jack, you're gonna mainly be focusing on being able to just stand in the punishment, and like dish out equal amounts of pain back. I will say medium armor jack has almost no real purpose at character creation. Like the best that'll get you is like you get an extra SP, so like medium pistols can't pierce your armor now. But like that's literally it, and you could just tech upgrade light armor jack to do the same thing.
And
so
I heard the argument that you could just purchase medium armor jack and take it to a tech, and then boom, you have poor man's heavy armor jack. I mean, I guess there's that.
Sure.
But in that case, then, I mean, it is 100 eddies each, and you'll have to find a tech that's willing to do the upgrades for you. It's going to take a day for your helmet and a day for your armor, so it could work, but you might be better off starting off with light armor jack and just having that set of heavy armor jack just in case.
I think light armor jack is by far the best way to start the campaign, because like that extra SP isn't almost never going to matter for you early on, because like even the basic mooks that the book gives us to use, which is how a lot of like early adventures are typically templated, they don't use medium pistols. Like I don't think I've ever seen a stat block, with the exception of maybe a few in Danger Girl Dossier, that like actually use medium pistols, like stock medium pistols.
The only other things that I see stock medium pistols for is encounters, and that'll be like folks that are not at all meant for combat, that are just carrying a little, little leather jacket busters, which are basically medium pistols. Like literally, medium pistols are only going to be good against their fellow people that are wearing leathers or Kevlar. With that in mind, solos, usually if you want to keep a second set of armor around, that's never a bad investment for you, especially especially for the heavy weapons users. I know there's that dex penalty, but as soon as you get really good at using heavy weapons, you'll be able to overcome the dex penalty. And plus, like you can even invest solo points to reduce the penalty even further.
Yeah.
And tech upgrade it. So at the end of the day, solos, techs are going to be your best friend. But find the weapons that you want to work with and build around that weapon of choice.
Yeah. And one bonus thing here is, if you do want to end up going heavy armor later, something you can consider getting relatively early on, if you don't get it at character generation, is getting yourself a Neuralink first and foremost, because like smart guns will want that anyway. But beyond that, getting yourself a reflex coprocessor, because then you can still try to dodge bullets even if your reflex is less than 8.
Yep.
Which is part of the biggest drawback to heavy armor, is the fact that it prevents you from doing that. So like if you just have that one thing, it literally creates openings for you to like do plenty good at dodging still.
We've got also the but also of course you have the subdermal grip and the interface plugs as well, depending on because interface plugs, they are just kind of a handy like every item. But if you just want subdermal grip to go in your hand, that works as well.
Yeah.
All right, our favorite with our girl Red Eye, Netrunner. So
I love Netrunner.
Do you like being poor at character creation? Play Netrunner.
I do.
And I'm not even joking. Netrunners, you are going to be poor out the gate, but your skills are going to be most in demand, because, well, it's kind of hard to keep a Netrunner on hand, especially because of the amount of danger. So, starting off, of course, you're going to have to pay the tax. You're going to need to pay for a Neuralink and interface plugs. And then you're going to need to get some form of virtuality, whether that's through Cyber Eyes with virtuality or virtuality goggles. And then you need a cyber deck. So if we want, what was it last night when we were talking about it? Like poor quality cyber deck is $500.
It's 100
or $100 for it. So we're paying, let's see, 1,000. It's like 1,200 to start off as a Netrunner, because I think virtuality is all like the virtuality gogs are 100.
Well, so if you go for broke, right? To start off as a Netrunner, so let's start with our generic stuff that's good across all edge runners. You need an agent, which is 100 usually. You need $200 worth of light armor jack, and you're going to want a sidearm of some kind, probably a heavy pistol because they're concealable. Which is another 100 if you're not getting a poor quality one. So you're 400 deep right there before we touch the net running gear. For interface plugs, it's 500. For your Neuralink that those go into, it's 500. So you're already talking 1,400 right there. Then
I'll grab my calculator here.
Yeah, so you're at 1,400 already. The next thing you've got is you need your cyber deck, which if you get the cheapest one, which is poor quality, it's 100 eddies for 5-slot cyber deck. So you're at 1,500. Now, beyond that, you need virtuality goggles, which I believe are another 100. Are they 100 or 5? I think they're 100.
They're 100. So that puts you at 950 eddies left.
Yeah, so you're at 1,600 now that you've spent. And you haven't even bought programs, and you haven't bought ammo for the gun you picked yet at that point.
Programs aren't cheap either. So I'd say...
Not all of them are. Yeah, not all of them. Most of the basic programs are pretty cheap. But
you're going to spend about like somewhere between 100 to 200 bucks on programs, depending on what you get.
I would argue you're going to spend more like 300 or 400, because like some of the boosters come out to like 100, and some of those are really useful, like Speedy Gonzalez and Armor in particular.
We'll high end it at 400.
Programs. Yeah. So yeah, you'll have like
550,
500, and you still need ammo at that point.
So let's say you get 50 rounds of ammunition, you have $500 left to your name. Now, given $500 could still get you some of your general gear, or it can get you 5 pieces of fashion wear, or a few other pieces of cyber. But you're kind of left in this spot where you are going to be really, really thin for money. There is a way to get more money, but your entire party, or like the way I tend to do it, is you have to agree to having very, very much a serious like trade-off happen where you are going to be put, you're going to be put on a corporate leash or a gang's leash, and you say no, and somebody's having a real bad day, your head's going to explode.
Well, and the other thing too, give me 2 seconds here. To the Q&A at the end. We got a couple of questions coming through my chat this week, which is awesome. So the one thing I also want to mention about the remaining 500 is we assume up to this point you've only taken a poor quality cyber deck. If you want to strip 400 eddies out of that remaining 500, you can get you a standard quality cyber deck, but understand then you're probably spending that remaining 100 eddies on the programs to fill those last 2 slots.
Yep.
And you will literally be at 0 eddies at that point. So yeah. It's great, honestly. Terrific. Love being broke as a net runner at character creation.
But however, at the same time, it seems like a lot of like the pre-written missions that I have found. Anytime there is a need for a net runner, it jacks the amount of money that's being offered up. Like if you need a net runner, it immediately seems to go up to a typical job of $1,000. So you're not going to be poor for long.
Yeah.
Just you're going to be kind of screwed on the front end. Better have a cheap agent. I mean, yeah, we now have poor quality agents if you want to buy one for $50. And then, oh yeah, by the way, now netrunners have crunch whistles to hack into people's agents. And also we need to look at hardware also as well, because insulated wires,
they're 100.
That's $100. So I mean, and you'd have to have a slot, so you're gonna need at least a standard quality deck to make it work. I mean,
probably. I mean, you could run poor quality and then just use 4 program slots. Yeah. But yeah, this further reinforces my point that like you're probably going to spend somewhere in the like 3 to 500 range probably on programs and hardware for your deck.
You need a crutch whistle and a breacher. Yeah, you're right, Chandra. I'm so sorry. I forgot.
The breacher is the big one there because it's 500 eddies right there that you're throwing, and that's a lot of money. So you're probably not going to get a breacher crunch whistle combo out of character creation, most likely. Like, unless like that's the only thing you're using your cyber deck for, and you're really not enforcing it with any programs. And like when you jack in and do actual net running, you're literally relying on like just your scripts that you have as like a standard net runner. So that'd be things like Zap, Pathfinder, and you're using it all raw. And that would come down to then your initial skill build maybe being very high luck, like 8 luck, we're talking, to compensate for the fact that you have no boosters.
So I've seen some netrunners, though, in exchange, go for Kevlar to start out with in order to afford them a few extra bucks, and they won't be as combat oriented. They'll chill out like further back behind the rest of the crew and take care of net running that way. So that way they can afford to maybe go up a tier. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, we have tech. Techs, you need your tools.
You do. Tech tools, I think, are 500 if I remember right.
Tech tool is 500. The tool bag is $1,000, and it comes with a tech tool. But also on top of that, techs, I would highly recommend, just make sure that you have a tech scanner. It's not going to be always an upfront purchase, but it is a piece of gear that does wonders for techs. And
I would go so far as to say tech scanner should be something you have in your opening kit.
Okay.
Because the tech bag itself, what does that net you other than the free tech tool?
It gives you a tech tool, but it also gives you all sorts of mechanical tools. So I think that also counts for your lock picking set, and basically it eschews the tech bag is $500. Basically, the way I've ruled it with tech bag is it eschews any penalties involved with any mechanical or electronic picking and whatnot.
It's your reagents bag for any kind of caster sort of thing. Yeah. So and LCC then with him giving us the pricing. So the tech bag is 500, tech scanner's 1,000. So that should be immediately like 1,500 eddies you lock in just about right away at character creation if you're a tech. Because like those things are so very, very useful for you to like just have at your disposal and just not suffer penalties. I would say that that's like essential for you.
Also, one other recommendation, because I've seen some techs accidentally fall into this folly. When you purchase gear, don't purchase gear you can't fix. Or if you do purchase it, make sure you know someone that can help you out if need be. Because I've seen someone buy some gear that, their rolls will not fix it because they didn't invest points into that tech skill.
Right.
And I find with techs, most of the techs tend to stick to one certain weapon that they really, really like. And then I've seen one of them.
Well, I've seen weapons techs do the exact opposite, where they want to become an omni warrior of every weapon type before it's over.
I'm talking. If we're looking at those folks, the war techs.
Those people.
But I'm talking much more your engineers and other tinkerers of that group, like that bunch of folks. The only reason why I say those people is because holy fuck, techs, you guys can get a little out of hand a little too quick sometimes. But
that's good, techs. Don't listen to her.
I mean,
she's just trying to stray you from the path of glory.
I mean, for example, like Torch, the in Danger Gal Dossier has an excellent quality flamethrower. So I mean, if that's the route you want to take, you can do that. You can, go for assault rifle and make your assault rifle just absolutely busted. You could, definitely. I've seen one tech who uses his crowbar also as a heavy melee weapon. He calls it he calls it the mind opener, and he specializes in melee weapons. All right. And yeah, the Master's Toolkit for 20,000 eds, which, I mean, I guess you could print one out for 10,000 eds in a month.
You could.
You could.
In theory.
But your shop is going to be busy with that. Because, like, for me, I allow you to print all your schematics over the month. And then you got to, sit down for a little while and put it all together.
Yeah.
But also, you got to go home and check on it every once in a while.
Yeah, like I would say very simply that like the really high end stuff for techs is like you probably need it if you're gonna go off into doing some like super luxury crafting and stuff like that, because you need every conceivable bonus that you can like get your hands on.
Me
But
trying to create high quality items in 14, I feel.
it's you need so many bonuses to like make that work out. So yeah, like Tex, your big focus is going to be on like getting all the benefits you can out of like starting tools, and then yeah, like picking a gun, maybe two if you want to like do small arms, because like there is a way you could build your tech where you go, I'm going to make like I'm going to have a handgun and I'm going to have an SMG, and I'm going to use this one to shoot individually. I'm going to use this one to auto fire and suppress. And then it's just a matter of like how many points you want to allocate towards your like weapons as opposed to like your tech. Because like nearly every tech skill is useful for a tech.
Yeah. Jesus. Usually for me, I have you pay for your fab materials upon creation, but I guess what about fabrication material? Is that like an actual like stock item that I've been unaware of? Like is your fab mats? Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're all good. I did not get a chance to eat dinner before we went live, so I've been munching on a bagel. With the fabrication material, the way I usually handle it is I treat it like scrap. And the way I've done it is you can take half an item's value out of it. So like if you pick up a poor quality pistol from some random booster, like no fixer's really going to want that thing. You, however, can disassemble it for what is useful out of it. So you can disassemble it down for half its value in material, and then you can put that against, fabricating other things. So like that's kind of how I've handled it. So in theory, you could do that because you can just get X number of eddies worth of fabrication or like tech material, scrap, whatever we want to call it. So like do what you're gonna do, but that's more down to like GM fiat. That's going to be a GM thing, like whether your GM does it like I do it or whatever. But the fact remains, the book specifically says as written, you need a certain number of materials that equate to a number of eddies.
Okay.
To do whatever you're going to do. So in theory, those items exist, but it's hand-waved as to what they are. They're just tech materials. They're not like you need 3 wires and a battery and several circuit boards. Like you don't
like Fallout 2D20 does that where it's component to component. But
Witcher does that too. Witcher TRPG does that.
No thanks.
No.
Now looking at this next one, it's the tech's much more meat related cousin, the medtech. The medtech bag is going to be your must, and honestly a good set of armor and a good weapon to make people fuck off with. You're gonna be pretty well set. I mean, one of my med techs, that's literally her thing, is just shotgun to whoever's nearby the patient, and then it's like, all right, hold your leg, we're gonna get you out of here.
So med techs are really fun because, like, unlike the regular tech, you don't need to put nearly as many skill points into things to like be effective.
Mm-hmm. It comes with your
because
role.
You really part of it comes with your role. The only one that you really need to take outside your role to like be effective is paramedic. Because fun fact, anything you can use your first aid for, you can use your paramedic for. And paramedic in many cases comes out ahead. Like you have an easier time being a paramedic DV than you would a first aid DV for the same thing. So it's very useful to look at medtech as a you're the party's support in a lot of ways. That said, there are some beneficial things that I might recommend getting your hands on. So obviously your medtech bag is going to be like incredibly important. A med scanner, just like a tech scanner, is going to give you a ton of benefits. It's going to give you a ton of things that are, just bonuses to your other stuff that you're doing already.
Air hypos.
At character, air hypos are, you need an air hypo at least. You need to probably invest some of that starting cash into, like, I would argue you should put it into pharmaceuticals. Though, fun fact, as long as you're a med tech, even if you didn't make the pharmaceutical, you have the know-how to administer it.
Yep.
So you could, in theory, from other med techs, buy things like Speed Heal or Veritas or Stim, whatever. You can buy your pharmaceuticals on the open market technically. You just might pay a lot more for them than you otherwise would.
And one of the other things that I would recommend for med techs, if you have the money, and if you have a Neuralink and a Cyberarm, is the Raven Microcybernetics Micro Waldo. It gives you a +1 to your surgery rolls. And, surgery, it's going to be the permanent fix for some of the very grievous critical injuries out there.
One thing I will say about the Micro Waldo is it is very expensive, it does require you to have a Neuralink installed in order to use it. So, it's
down the road.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's like for netrunners, for example, the first major thing that I would recommend getting as a netrunner, as your down the road purchase, would be like a bodyweight suit when you can get it. For a med tech, it's a Micro Waldo. It's you need a little much to get this working right out of character creation. Maybe if you make a deal, what we call a deal with the devil, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, here at some point tonight. Even if it's not in this segment, we might talk about it in our Q&A later, because we did get a question about it. But if you take a deal with the devil, you might have enough to afford it. It's just really down to how ambitious the team you're part of wants to be about things like that. But yeah, med scanner, medical bag are two things. Your air hypo. Although I think the medical bag technically contains air hypos. At least I would probably.
I think it contains an air hypo. Usually for me, I like to keep 2 or 3, so that way I just have the drugs on hand, so I don't have to load the air hypo with another drug.
That's entirely fair. Yeah. So it's just down to how you want to kind of do it. But also some of it depends on how your GM interprets some of the items that you're using that are container items, like a medtech bag.
All right. Next in line, because medtechs, it's pretty straightforward. And also, if you do go into cryo systems, your equipment is provided to you.
Right. Yeah, you get free cryo bags and stuff.
Media. Media. You are going to be very much. You need to have a camera. A camera of some sort, whether it be your shoulder-mounted camera or a hand camera. A micro video from your eye, or the Cybercam like Emmerron mentioned earlier. That's the one that gives you a +1 to your evidence while you're streaming.
I think it's actually it's a +1. It is a +1.
Yeah. So of course, get that light armor jack. But for you, an agent is always going to be a really, really good thing to have, because you are running around with contacts. And having someone or having a little extra buddy to help you when you need hey, can you please contact this person for me, I'm a little busy at the moment, does help. And agents, that's across everyone. Usually if you are camera in one hand, handgun in the other, easy enough.
Yep. I would say it's something that you could look into pretty easily because medias are really light on starting gear they need for their role to work. Your camera is just about it, and there's a really funny thing here where if you have an agent of high enough quality, you have a video cam on your agent. It's not going to be as good quality. It's like a regular video camera would be, but it's there. That said, the thing I would add on top of that is with medias, you have a little more budget for Chrome. So you can get things like a voice stress analyzer, for example, that lets you like tell if someone's lying a little more easily. So a lot of medias I know are going to get a cyber audio suite, and they're usually going to equip like a voice stress analyzer, and they might consider some additional things on that front. Another thing though that I know, like, yeah, the audio recorder is really helpful. You also can potentially, if you want to get into like being the combat reporter, you could do like pop-ups, like pop-up weapons and stuff like that. So you walk in somewhere being very unassuming.
The microphone finger. That's another fingers. I forgot about fingers because at MedTechs you can get an air hypo finger, and there's all sorts of tech fingers as well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's even tech hand for techs, or
that's no different than a regular like tech bag, I think, in terms of like what it gives you. But and I think it's about the same cost ultimately, if maybe a little more.
I just thought about that, but also check out Cyberfingers if you can. There's all sorts of great ones out there.
Black Chrome literally has a sub-chapter about just Cyberfingers and modular cyber hands,
including like one of the most useful ones, the Squirt Cyberfinger. Look, you gotta keep your barbecue sauce for your chicken flavored kibble somewhere, okay?
Oh yeah. That's definitely what I store in my Squirt Cyberfinger. Yep.
What do you store in yours? Because you can't put acid in there.
I mean, you can't put acid in there. You could, however, put plastic explosive in there.
Don't give people ideas.
Diamond, I'm here to. That's my whole goal as a content creator, is to give people crazy ideas. Put a little bit of plastic explosive or blasting gel in a finger. Apply to door lock. Bam! Awesome. That door is now unlocked.
Yeah. So medias, it's very much more have your recording devices, however you want to deliver it, and then go have fun. Just follow your contacts, follow the leads. And honestly, having an agent to help keep track of things, and also a memory stimulator. I found actually a media at one of my tables says this has been one of the best items that they've ever used as a media. Yeah. Did you have something, Emmerron?
No.
Okay.
I'm good. I was the one thing I was gonna ask is how close we are, because we're beginning to run out of time for the first.
Let's see. We got just 4, and they're all pretty straightforward. They don't really have a lot. Execs. You Emmerron, you have a good definition for the exec.
Yeah. The exec is a master of all trades. You are literally like, you can build an exec however you want, because your role ability is privilege with a capital P. You get your housing paid for, you get a free suit, you get backup, you get just so many perks that are financially beneficial for you because you don't have to tap starting cash for them. So you can build out an exec kind of like a solo, where like you just have to define like what kind of an exec are you. Like the one I play is street level salesperson going door to door in combat zones. So like, of course he's gonna have a little more in the way of things like firearms skill. He's gonna have the ability to fight. He's gonna have the ability to like actually evade stuff. So like that is the way I built my exec. But you could build your exec to be very social and like very high cool and like do that. This is why I place exec in that like kind of technical area of things along with everyone else. because technically you could build your exec to be good at whatever you want them to be good at. The only thing they really need to be like a good corpo is like higher intelligence, so you get like bureaucracy and business kind of covered for yourself, or some of those other like accounting and things that might factor into like stuff you do as your exec. But like beyond that, you really aren't restricted that much.
I mean, I've seen an executive that literally an idea was for an executive is think very much more you're a spy for the company and you just have a support team behind you.
So in that case you'd build them like more like a media, or like we haven't talked about them yet, but like a fixer, where like you build them in with the same like recorders, you build them in with like cameras, you could do all that too.
Basically, with execs, it's very much look at the route you want your exec to take, like what are they responsible for in the company, and then run with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Lawman! Honestly, Lawman, run the typical cop build, you're good to go. Get your armor jack, get your shotgun, get your rifle, your handgun, whatever weapons you like, and get out there.
Yeah, it's pretty much
because help you.
Yeah, because like for Lawman, the only gear that I might recommend like looking at are like if you want less than lethal options. That's pretty much where you're looking at it through the sense of like Jesus Christ. Now I'll ask, hey, what's the tech check again for a hydrogen bomb? Great question. Anyway,
great question.
Moving
Next
on.
question.
The main thing you have to realize about the way things can work with lawmen is you're gonna want like handcuffs. You may want less than lethal options if you want to bring someone alive. There could be bonuses and benefits to doing it that way. So like that might be something you consider. But again, it really depends. Like, are you just a beat cop, or are you like part of like a corpo hit squad? Because like both of those could be lawmen.
Are you part of 6th
depending
Street?
on how you do it. Yeah.
The
crime database,
analyzer,
maybe chem analyzer.
If you want to be more of a detective, absolutely.
CSI, like if you're a CSI lawman, then it's another one where like the skills and gear you're gonna like really focus in on as a lawman are gonna be like highly dependent on like what kind of a lawman you are, but all of those are pretty tightly defined and bounded. So it's gonna feel a little more like you're building a solo in a lot of cases. That just has a couple more focused skills into like the intelligence category, like for criminology and things like that, and then the gear to back them up.
And don't forget your 20 Eddie pastry. Anyway, sorry. as a security guard, as someone who works in the security profession, I gotta make the joke. Fixers. Gotta have that agent. You gotta have your little black book. You gotta, have all your contacts in a row. Maybe a nice little camcorder to, remind people when, they forget their end of the bargain.
VSAs are also useful. Voice stress analyzers, recorders, like all that stuff can be really, really useful. Like basically fashionable armor. Yeah. Like you want to do like 3 things as a fixer. You want to blend in. You want to be able to make deals that are good for you, and they don't need to be good for anyone but you. If they are good for anyone else, that's just a bonus. That's not the point. So you are, looking to connect with people, make deals with people, and then leverage your information to making either money or connections that are higher on the food chain, repeat ad nauseum until you rank 10, basically.
And also, of course, boost your cool. Get your wardrobe and style going. Get your personal grooming going. Get all that good fashion going.
Anything that gives you bonuses to like your empathy and cool skills are immediately going to be of benefit to you as a fixer.
So prime time, maybe not.
Maybe not. It depends.
Possibly.
It depends. Like look everyone, I have a very skewed opinion on empathy. Diamond does not agree with it. I believe empathy is a resource. It's kind of like in the TCG space, we would say life is a resource, right? The only point that matters is the last one. Anything before that last point is a resource. You can pay costs with it. You can do things with it. It's a resource. Empathy, very, very much like that, it's a resource. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to worry about it going away. It can come back. But, you know, it's a resource.
After, you know, like paying $500 or $1,000 to get it back. But, yeah, no, empathy, it's a good way to gauge, like, how you connect with other people. And it can also really help benefit you when you are trying to manipulate folks into giving you that little tidbit of information.
And even Nyla admits, he's like, I've been converted to low empathyism. Yes.
And finally, our rough and rowdy riders, the nomads, you lovely folks. Keep a tech bag around. You never know when you need tools. Nomads, I feel, can kind of fall in that spot where they aren't quite fully techs, but they're very helpful in that case. Carry weapons that, you know, match, like, you know, what kind of build you want to go for. Like, if you're a biker, get yourself, you know, some one-handed weapons.
No. I have one better for you. Oh yeah, you already know what I'm gonna start saying here. So, cyberware guys, nomads, this is a little thing that most nomads don't think about. Every vehicle, and I do mean this, every vehicle, unless otherwise stated in Cyberpunk RED, is assumed to be drivable with interface plugs and your brain.
Yep.
What this functionally means is that you can use two-handed weapons and still be driving just fine, because you don't need to touch a steering wheel. You just think and the car does, or the bike does, whatever, you know? So what we've done in the past, we have a nomad in the game I play in real life, where
Frosty.
his whole thing is he is a air nomad, so flies up in helicopter, has a sniper rifle, and he's just flying the thing with his head. So first thing I'd actually recommend for any nomad is interface plugs and the neural link to drive them. That is the very first thing I would get right out of character creation.
A popular choice amongst nomads is also to get that heavy weapons mount. So honestly, the heavy weapon skill is pretty good. And if you're, you know, feeling extra spicy, get yourself a grenade launcher. You know, nothing wrong with a little splash damage here and there. Well, you can get yourself, you know, and you get either a free Militech Cowboy, a free Tsunami Arms Helix, or a free Rheinmetall railgun. Because I mean, putting the Hurricane on a I don't know, would the Hurricane really work that well as a mounted heavy weapon? I guess you get right up on someone. That's
2 rate of fire shotgun, and you can use shells in it still. So like,
hey, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just like the thunk thunk every round is pretty good when you are just dropping it on someone at point blank. Yeah, like I don't know if I would use it as my mounted weapon, but like long term, if you can build for it to be carryable in your hands, I absolutely would get the hold of that one.
Oh, hi, Thorium. So we answered your question last time that you were here and asked it. It was, I think, like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Not sure when the last time you were in. But if you could repeat the question, we'll gladly add that to your add that to the list. Oh, okay. You're joking. Okay. All right. And on top of that, I think in general for everyone, always have, you know, at least a one-handed weapon of some form, and have an agent or some form of way to communicate, and always have a fucking anti-smog mask. Just
yep.
Oh gosh. All right, so I think we'll take a quick break and move on over to your side. But for everybody who's been watching this half of the episode, thank you so much. Take our ideas for your starting gear. Don't take it as like this is the rules for it. Take it as a starter. And then we're going to talk about some little accidents that have happened. But until
It's gonna
then,
be good.
we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on the other side on part 2 of episode 12. Bye bye now. Bye bye.
Yeah.